I never pictured myself as the kind of woman who'd risk her entire marriage for a brief, reckless connection with a coworker. Yet here I am, laying bare the most agonizing truth about my actions. I crossed boundaries with my boss that I never would have with my husband. Now my marriage lies in ruins, and my husband is exposing every detail of my infidelity to anyone willing to hear. It all started so quietly, so innocently. My husband, David, and I had shared nearly 10 years together. He was dependable, kind, a genuinely good man. But perhaps that was the problem. Our life had settled into a familiar pattern that felt more like a routine than a true partnership. Each day we'd rise, go to work, share a meal, watch a program, and sleep. It was safe, predictable, comfortable. And I told myself that's what a marriage was supposed to be. Then I met Ethan, my supervisor. He was everything David wasn't: charismatic, confident, drawing every eye in the room. His attention felt like a flame, stirring something dormant inside me. He'd notice little details: a new hairstyle, a carefully chosen dress, or the way I presented ideas in meetings. Those small comments, innocent on the surface, sent my pulse racing because they were things David hadn't said in years. At first, I convinced myself it was just professional respect, a harmless spark. But Ethan knew how to nudge boundaries step by subtle step. A late-night work discussion became a shared dinner. A drink to relax after a grueling day. A hand on my shoulder that lingered too long. The worst part? I didn't resist. I leaned into it, craving the thrill. With David, our closeness had grown routine, almost automatic. But with Ethan, it felt like rediscovering a younger, wilder version of myself, vibrant, intense, alive. I began doing things for Ethan I'd never dream of doing for David. I'd pick outfits to catch his eye, agree to actions that shattered every moral boundary I thought I held. Guilt would surface, but the rush was addictive, overwhelming. For a while I lived two lives. At home, I was the devoted wife, preparing meals and making small talk. At work, I transformed into someone else. Lively, desired, willing to break every rule. I believed I could keep those worlds apart, that they'd never intersect. But secrets have a way of coming undone. One night, while I was in the shower, David noticed my phone buzzing incessantly on the kitchen counter. Ethan's messages, far from discreet, were blatant, undeniable proof of my betrayal. When I stepped out of the bathroom, David was seated at the table, my phone clutched in his hands. The look on his face, heartbreak mingled with disbelief, is etched into my soul. He didn't yell or lash out. His voice shook as he asked, "Why him? Why not me?" I had no answer, because the truth was too raw to admit. I chased the excitement, and Ethan was my escape from the ordinary. That night broke everything. David moved to the guest room, refusing to look at me or touch me. Within weeks, he filed for divorce. But the pain didn't stop there. He started telling everyone, his family, our mutual friends, even passing acquaintances, the unfiltered truth of my actions. Every detail he shared was true, and the whispers and judging glances followed. I became the woman who threw away her marriage for her boss, a cautionary tale, a punchline. Ethan, meanwhile, withdrew. At work, he became distant, professional, untouchable. The man who'd seemed so enthralled by me moved on without a second thought, leaving my life in pieces. The nights are the hardest now. Lying alone, David's words haunt me. Why him? Why not me? I loathe myself for having no reasonable answer. David gave me stability, devotion, love. Ethan fed my ego with fleeting thrills. I traded everything for the latter. Now when I see David, he looks through me as if I'm invisible. There's no anger left, just emptiness. You can fight anger, but indifference is unassailable. He's gone for good. I keep wondering what I was pursuing. Did I honestly believe Ethan, a man who played with his employees' emotions, would love me like David did? Was I foolish enough to think he'd be my future? Or was I simply running from the quiet comfort of a man who truly cared? The truth is brutal. I wasn't brave or passionate. I was self-centered, craving something beyond the life I had. Instead of cherishing my marriage, I chased someone who saw me as a fleeting diversion. Now I'm the one cast aside. David has moved on. He doesn't call or check in. Friends say he's flourishing, staying active, socializing, even seeing someone new. Meanwhile, I'm stuck, replaying my mistakes, wondering how I overlooked what was right in front of me. Reflecting on it now, I see my marriage in a new light. The routine I despised was a bedrock of security. The predictability I mocked was safety. The love I took for granted was the kind people spend lifetimes searching for. I threw it away for a momentary rush, chasing someone who didn't care enough to ask if I was okay. I crossed lines for my boss I'd never cross for my husband. And for what? A brief jolt of excitement. A boost to my ego. A fantasy that collapsed when exposed. Now I'm left with loneliness, regret, and the endless echo of David's question. Why him? Why not me? I'll never find an answer that feels justified.